Freedom is the right to tell what they do not want to hear. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Tired of the same repetitive government narratives? Then wave goodbye to the distractions and rhetoric of corporate media. For this is Anti-Media Radio.
But I want to get the language right. The big government is in trouble.
You're all a bunch of slaves! Bunch of slaves!
What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
What's your definition of media?
And now, here's your host, S.M. Gibson.
I know you've been clamoring for it all day long, but the time has come for Anti-Media Radio for March the 19th, 2015. Happy Thursday evening, everyone. I hope everybody's having a great night. This is your host, as always, S.M. Gibson. Let's go ahead and jump into kind of some of the stories that's going on around the world. I'm not going to go ahead and hit on the late breaking news that kids go and get drunk at spring break, which apparently Sean Hannity's been talking about all night. So, you know, if you missed Fox News tonight, breaking, kids go to spring break and get drunk. So what's really happening in the news is it was reported earlier by Anti-Media Today and was released late last night, early this morning by Glenn Greenwald on The Intercept, talking about why Germany did not take Snowden and give him asylum, or at least kind of give him a springboard to travel and go to another country, possibly in South America. And the reason is according to the Vice Chancellor, is Germany was threatened. And the United States basically said, well, if you basically help him at all, you give him asylum, or you let him step foot in your country, we're going to stop giving you any info, any classified info whatsoever. Not only are we going to stop giving you classified info, let's say we find out there's going to be a terrorist attack in Germany. Guess what? We're not going to tell you about it. You're on your own. Tough luck. So the United States is willing to act like a child, basically blackmail the German people with their safety, and says, you know what, if y'all blow up, that's fine, but we got embarrassed because Edward Snowden told the truth, and we look stupid, so now, you know, we don't care what happens to you people. If you help him, you know, we don't care about you. That's the United States right there. They look at it as Snowden committed a crime for telling the people the truth, whereas the United States government can threaten a group of people, and that's in the service of national security, I guess. I'm not quite sure. I still haven't got my head around it. You know, they go back and forth every day on James Clapper. I know that. You know, one day Clapper's a good guy, one day Clapper's a bad guy. They can't really get their head around that. You know, his name obviously came out and started with the Snowden situation and said that the government wasn't lying on people. Well, guess what? It turned out they were lying to people. They were spying on people. But that's for, I could go into that all night. Ladies and gentlemen, joined on the telephone right now, Mr. Shannon Madden. How you doing, Shannon?
Absolutely wonderful. How are you, Mr. Gibson?
Doing good, sir. So, why don't you, I tell you what, I've just been sitting here and really just kind of hit on Snowden and the Germany thing. There's so much more going on right now.
Oh, yes, there is.
Why don't you kind of lead us off with what's been your hot button today?
Oh, well, and it's been a hot button all over the United States with anybody with half a lick of sense. Our good president is calling for mandatory voting in the United States.
That
mandatory.
was a story I wrote for the website yesterday. I think it was.
Absolutely wonderful story, I might add. But yes, he's thrown down the gauntlet. If you do not go out and vote, and this actually came, it came from a speech that he was giving to the City Club of Cleveland, and he was basically, it was, just one of your normal random Obama speeches about middle class and helping the poor folks, and the usual, which I think we absolutely should, but the usual Democratic Party rhetoric. And he referenced the nation of, the country of the continent of Australia. Australia forces their citizens to vote. They're one of 11 countries in the world that do so. And you are faced to a fine, faced with a fine or, depending on the circumstance, jail time. Jail time if you don't vote.
You see, when I was doing the story yesterday, I was, kind of doing some research on Australia. And if you look at the official laws and you go to, you start studying it, they just make it sound like, oh, you're going to get a fine. It's no big deal. But then you start researching it and seeing all these people through the years that have been arrested for it and gone to jail for it. It's like, that's nowhere on your website.
Oh, and what happens if you don't pay the fine? Well,
right, exactly. All because you didn't vote. And see, here's something that I kind of touched on in the article, but it really stood out in my head anyway, is Obama, his reasoning for it is because there's so much money in politics, which that's true. I mean, he is right about that. The complete irony
and how much money has President Obama raised for his own campaigns?
Oh, exactly.
Billions.
He raised $1 billion.
With a
He's
B.
the first person to ever raise $1 billion in a presidential campaign in 2008. Now, him and Romney both raised $1 billion in 2012, but he's raised more money in presidential elections than any person ever. Ever. And he's talking about getting money out of the system, which I agree with, but I guess he doesn't catch the irony. If that wasn't in place, he wouldn't be president.
Absolutely. And while we're on the subject of President Obama, well, let's talk about what went on in the White House in 2014. About the fact that there was all this information. And wait a minute, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't he supposed to be the most transparent president ever?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's his exact words have been, this is the most transparent administration in history. And I think I know where you're going with this. With being Sunshine Week, the records came out that in 2014, like you were saying, as far as FOIA requests and the Freedom of Information Act, there were more redactions or just outright refusals than ever in the history of the country.
Even more than Bush?
Even more than Bush. Tell you what, hold on 2 seconds. Let's get to area code 206. Welcome to Anti-Media Radio. How you doing tonight?
Hey, what's up, man? It's Cassius.
Cassius, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Not much. Just sitting back.
Cool.
About to write a good article,
Fantastic. What's on your mind tonight?
Well, I've been thinking about agorism a lot lately, I feel like we're at a point in this movement, of course, where we're routinely reporting on everything that happens. We're reporting on the news, and we're performing a function with an independent piece of infrastructure we have, which is the independent media. But I've been thinking a lot lately about developing, more independent pieces of infrastructure and going the next level to put more power into our own hands instead of, putting money to corporations that don't do our society good when it comes to food and all that, So I've been thinking about growing my own food, and I'm starting a garden right now, so that's what's on my mind, you know.
Yeah, I mean I think that's something everybody should be doing. I know Nick's been doing that for quite a while. I know he was doing it. I'm pretty sure he still is doing it. But yeah, I think that's something that everybody needs to be doing is growing their own food and having their own garden and being more resourceful to themselves and to their community and not be so reliant on the system itself.
Yeah, man. I mean, community unity. I think in Houston, you know, Derek Bros and all of them have what's it called? This organic garden in Fifth Ward, Houston. It's great, man.
Oh, I can't think of the name of it. I know exactly what you're talking about. I can't remember if he took us there or not when we were down there, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I almost went there when I was there, but I never got a chance to see it myself. But yeah, man, growing our own food. I really want to start a community in the future, you know, actually get some land together and do something like that. There's a lot of problems that could come with it, but man, I think that might be something that's a real viable option to, you know, putting power back into our own hands and everything, you know.
I think you hit it right on the head, Cassius. Well, I tell you what stories you got coming up for us? I'm gonna go ahead and let you go, but go ahead and tell us what you got going on real quick.
Well, right now, I'm writing about how President Obama just claims that the rise of ISIS is an unintended consequence of Bush's invasion in Iraq. It's not the biggest headline.
The clock's right twice a day in it.
Huh?
The clock strikes twice a day.
Yeah. But I tell you what, man, thanks so much, Cassius, and I'll be talking to you soon. All right, man?
Yeah, for sure, man. Good talking, man.
You too.
Take care, buddy.
All right, area code 214. Welcome to Anti-Media Radio. How you doing this evening?
Doing well, sir.
Fantastic. Turn your radio down a little bit. Can you hear me? Looks like we're having trouble connecting with that. Maybe they'll call back here in a second. All right, Shannon. So what we were talking about, the government redacted documents and the FOIA and Sunshine Week and that whole situation. So kind of tell us where we left off.
Well, actually, I'd like to pick up right where Cassius was talking about this for half a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
The unintended consequence of funding a terrorist group in Middle East. It seems like we've been down this road so many times before. In fact,
it really does.
Pretty much in a lot of the modern history of America dealing or having any dealings with the Middle East, and it all comes back to one thing: money.
Absolutely.
Money and oil.
You
take the oil away out of it, and there's no money. Try it on for size.
It always does. I'm going to go ahead and try to get area code 214 back on the line.
Hi, sorry about that. I had your radio control.
That's right. Can you turn your speakers down a little bit? You're kind of breaking up.
My speaker.
Yeah, it's kind of muffled.
I think we lost you.
It looks like it. Okay, continue, Shannon. Sorry about that.
But anyways, no, we've been around this road so many times before, and you know, it wasn't just an unintended consequence of ISIS. I mean, we also have Al Qaeda, we have the Saddam Hussein regime, we have so many other little itty bitty little sects that we set up over there to fuel our interests and keep the money flowing towards America. And this is just the latest example. I mean, there is so much documentation on the fact that we have actually not only funded these terrorists, ISIS. We've also given them weaponry. We've given them training. We basically taught them all of our secrets. Let's hope we didn't teach them all of them, and I'm sure we didn't, because no American gives up all of their secrets. Ask Obama. You know, it just goes back to what I've been preaching about for years and years and years. We need to eliminate, not just reduce, but eliminate our use, want, whatever for foreign oil. There are so many other technologies, and I'm not saying that we need to start drilling up in Alaska, we need to start pumping here, pumping there. We need to completely reduce our need for oil altogether. There are so many other technologies available out there. Now, and of course, we can't do it all together. We have, manufacturing and industry and so on and so forth, but there are other technologies available for any and every place that we use petroleum.
Did you see the
There
story?
are other options out there.
Did you see the story we had this morning that was talking about the bus line in England that they kind of introduced back at the end of November last year, but it's actually officially going to start being in service, I think, March the 25th or something. But it's the bio bus, and it runs off of human waste.
Oh, the poo bus, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that goes right into what you're talking about.
I'll give a little bit of disclosure here. At my day job, I'm actually a plumber, so this particular story kind of tickles me a little bit deeper than most folks. I'll just put it that way. I love it. I absolutely love it. And again, and we can start there, but there's so many other, alternative. And it's not just for buses, and it's not just for cars. It's for everything. Wouldn't it be great to figure out how to fly a plane with, solar energy?
Oh, absolutely.
And, people would laugh, or there'll be the few of the haters that actually listen to the show, waiting for a chance for us to make some sort of mistake or some sort of misstep. And it does sound like a silly pipe dream, but that's how a lot of great ideas and great innovation and technology has been started, with a silly idea. What if? Oh
yeah, and think about what that would do to our foreign policy. Do you really think we would be intervening? To the extent, at least, I mean, we're in so many countries. Obviously, we're not going anywhere from these countries anytime soon. We're in countries that don't even have any oil. But as far as our extreme meddling goes, we wouldn't be toppling governments anymore, I don't think. Maybe we would, but, they'd have to find a new reason, at least.
Yeah. Well, again, and we can start, that starts us off on a whole other soapbox that I can climb up on, but we'll save that for another show. But yeah, and it always goes back. Anytime that America is meddling in anybody else's affairs, and suddenly they feel the need to pick a side or start bullying this side, or suggesting that we're going to go ahead and punish people with sanctions, and you don't get any of this American money if you don't play the way that we want you to play. And then even if you do play the way that they want you to play, well, then you're going to have to keep in the line. Once you make that deal with the devil being the United States government, then you have to play ball. And if you don't play ball, well, remember the last time we saw Saddam Hussein hanging around?
Yeah, look at Gaddafi. Look what Gaddafi was trying to do. Get on the gold standard. He was trying to break away from the whole system. It didn't work out so well.
Yeah, not hard at all.
Yeah, you wanted to put him on the dinar in that entire situation. So, they're always going to find a reason to go in and attack you. They're always going to be able to have a boogeyman to create. Maybe.
But they're not going to spend the money and the resources to do that unless there's more money to be made.
Well, absolutely. But just the system in unto itself makes money. Think about how much money is made just from going to war. People see the tax dollars, the people lose. Me and you lose, but the corporations win.
Oh, absolutely. How much money did Halliburton made
right, exactly.
in our campaign over the Middle East?
Rake in but tons of cash.
I'm just amazed that Dick Cheney still has the audacity to still pontificate and be a pundit. Nobody wants to hear what that old blowhard has to say. You made your billions off American lives and American blood, sweat, and tears, and you go enjoy it quietly. Nobody wants to hear you anymore.
I can't believe anybody.
That's where I'm at with that guy.
I can't believe anybody still has him on anything.
I mean, I would be amazed if because he is an old fellow, that he's still able to carry on such a conversation. But then again, he's been dead for years.
Yeah, his heart. He didn't definitely have a heartbeat for a while.
I would almost be willing to wager he doesn't now. I don't think his heart has ever started beating. Because if you have any kind of heart, you wouldn't have made the decisions and the meddling and have the attitude and audacity that he does now. He is a heartless human being.
I think the problem is, I think the American people lost not because his heart wasn't running, but I think the American people lost is because he apparently doesn't have a soul. So I tell you what, let's jump into Marquise Johnson. I know you probably heard about this, the kid on the UVA campus getting beat up.
Oh, wow. Here we have another just drunk college kid out there having fun. Basically tries to get into a club that is being patrolled by the alcohol beverage control there in Virginia. It wasn't even the actual police, the one that we normally hear these horrible stories about, and the police brutality. We're talking about some pretty much glorified pencil pushers, just there to kind of make sure that they could, that none of the kids were underage drinking. And kid came in, tried to give a fake ID. This happens in bars and restaurants and stores all across America all the time. It's an American rite of passage.
But it turned out not to be a fake ID, did it not? Like it was real ID, wasn't it?
It was his real ID, but again, they were assuming that it was a fake ID. And then we start down the same slippery slope started down so many times in the course of this broadcast. He's thrown to the pavement, handcuffs, gets beat up. It's all on video. Check out our website. Yet again, just another example of it's just the police and all of their little cronies and all the new army that we have against us Americans. Normal law, and not everybody, not all of the people that we talk about were law-abiding Americans. Sometimes, people make stupid mistakes. Do they deserve to go to jail for them? Yeah, that's what it's there for. Do they deserve to get beaten up, brutalized, murdered? Nah.
Now, why do you think the Johnson case, which obviously, the police need to get in trouble. I know that the UVA administration came out and just said this was horrible. This shouldn't have happened. There's, something blah, blah, blah about the cops. The cops are acting like that. They didn't do anything wrong as usual. But why do you think this story has been on, national TV all day? But Derek Crews 2 weeks ago, luckily Marquise Johnson was up giving a speech today. He got up and was able to address his fellow students. It was a horrible, 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 unfortunate thing. I hope the cops, are punished for what they did. That's horrible. They've got no business doing that job if they can't, handle it and not beat people up. But we're talking about a kid that got beat up and addressed some students today, and we got a kid 2 weeks ago that didn't have a weapon that was selling marijuana get shot in the face, and that's not all over TV.
No, absolutely, because he was selling marijuana. Marijuana is a very harmful Schedule I substance, remember?
Right, and yet what's so funny is it came in a state that had just over 55% of the population of the state in a vote had voted to legalize it medically. So you wouldn't have people getting shot in the face. They had to have a supermajority in that election, so they had to get 60% of the vote to get it passed. But 55%, 56%, I think it actually was, voted to make it legal. 56% of the population, and this kid gets shot in the face for it. And that's not all over TV.
No. I wonder why that is.
I wonder why that is. I think, it's just, what can they distract you with today? We've got the president talking about mandatory voting. Well, is that a big shock? We already have mandatory health care, you get a fine. Mandatory taxes, or you get a fine. Mandatory this, mandatory that. You got to get groped to go to the airport. If you want to travel, mandatory gropings. That's freedom, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I kind of like that part, but I know most folks don't.
To each their own, I guess.
I'm dirty like that, I guess.
But it's so funny. It's mandatory to pay into Social Security. Mandatory. If you don't want to pay into it, you're not going to get it when you get older. That's fine.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't think we're going to get it when we get older anyways.
No, I don't think so either, but they're not telling you that. Everything's going to be.
Well, and there's quite a few. I mean, that should be another headline that should be screamed. But we went through a little phase of it there for a second, and then we had a lot of other people. Well, no, it's not near as bad. And if we just kind of make this cut and we tax a little bit more, we should be able to shore it up, or we need to raise this, or there's all this other chitter chatter that goes on, and then quietly gets shoved up under the rug like so many other huge, massive problems that this country will be facing very shortly if we don't get a grip.
Well, none of that's important. Did you? I guess you missed Sean Hannity's show tonight, because the top story in the country that we're concerned about is there's drunk kids at spring break. So there's kids getting drunk at spring break. So that's way more important than what's going to happen in our future with all this money we're flushing down the toilet.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, and that is our future right there. That is the future that American commerce, American, all of what we see broadcast on television and all these messages that are thrown out at children. That's our future right there. And I think for Fox to freak out about it, I think they were freaking out about the wrong thing, because they help contribute to those drunk kids wandering around the beach that were flashing peace signs and lifting their beer up at Fox News.
Oh yeah, kids gone crazy. I guess it's Fox News gone wild. One more crazy story out of Boston. This came out a while back, but when it was first reported, Detective Sean Conway was a hero, and what he did was there's video of him saving this guy from falling into the train tracks of the subway.
He's a hero.
He was a hero. They commended him. Everybody said the guy was a hero. Conway's a hero. They didn't show the entire video, apparently, because the entire video has now been released. And where it cut before and you see him saving a man's life, you see him grabbing a man, and when you see the rest of it, he's just beating him senseless.
And he's beating him while he's handcuffed.
Wow.
He saves his life, pulls him up, handcuffs on him, and then starts giving him the good old what for that American police are so famous for.
But how do we know that guy getting his head kicked in didn't save his life? People getting their head kicked in saves lives, right? It's like it's the new CPR.
He was just going to beat a little sensitive to him. You should have stayed away from them train tracks.
Well, yeah, I mean, knocking somebody's teeth to the back of the throat, I'm telling you, it's the new CPR. That's why cops do it all the time. They're saving lives.
They're trying to. Maybe they're just not doing it right.
Yeah, swallow your back molar. It'll save your life. We'll
yeah,
shove
you
it back there.
Can't kick with your whole thing, your foot. You kind of got to angle it a little bit, but you just keep trying. There's plenty of people out there to kick. You'll get the hang of it.
But what's so ridiculous is the police department went on and on and on about what a hero this cop was. Obviously, they had seen the entire footage because they released the original footage, and it was mysteriously cut at the right point to make the guy look like a hero. They knew what he did, and they just went on and on and on and on about how great this cop is. Oh, this hold him up to the community. But no, it's just another case of a cop beating a guy up for no reason.
Well, I don't think we need to snap the judgment until we see the Clint Eastwood film. That's going to clear the whole thing up. There's a lot of misunderstanding.
I mean, obviously, until Clint Eastwood has his final say, we don't really know what to think. We don't know who our.
Well, I better hurry up. Clint doesn't have too many years left on this earth.
Man, that propaganda will live forever, though, won't it?
Always. Nathan's pride.
So, yeah, I mean, again, talking about police covering stuff up, the Wikipedia pages. I know you've heard about that, hadn't you?
Oh, yeah. This is a good one, y'all. And I'm surprised I don't think we got a chance to touch on it last show because we had a lot of stuff going on. Eric Garner's Wikipedia page, it has come to light that the NYPD from inside the department, from their computers at the police station, went on Eric Garner's Wikipedia page and decided to do a little bit of editing. Why would they do such a thing?
NYPD came out and admitted. They had to admit, it came from in here. We don't know.
Yeah, because they got called out. I mean, you can't hide stuff like that. I mean, they're police. They should know that.
Oh, yeah, they get away with a lot more. I can't blame them for trying all the stuff they try to get away with.
Yeah, this is true.
But it came out. I believe it was San Diego that it just happened there too. I think.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I read it this morning or late last night. I can't remember, but so yeah, New York's not the only place that this is happening. So who knows how many times this has happened? This is why Wikipedia is nothing to really use as a source or a credible source for anything. I mean, I guess basic stuff if you needed it for something, but to do any real research, I would.
And we said it so many times, and it's going to be said for just about all websites and even our own. We don't want anybody to take anything at face value. Not just anything that we say, but anything that anybody says. You can always go on the internet and spend 10 minutes and do a little bit of research on a subject. If the subject interests you, don't just stop at Wikipedia or Google or whatever. Run down the list. There are so many different search engines and so many different, websites and groups and things that you can find out little bits and pieces of information. And sometimes you have to string a story together because, there's a lot of misinformation out there and a lot of people doing whatever they can to cause said misinformation and see the story we were just talking about.
Right. And, there's some people I think that honestly get facts wrong. I think there's people that intentionally put disinformation out. I think that there's people that genuinely think they're maybe writing the truth, but the disinformation leaks to such a point that they're just picking up off of that. There's a thousand different scenarios of how lies get, run through the community, basically, and how people start believing a lot of stuff. And what's crazy, too, is when these lies happen on national TV, well, they're automatically just picked up as fact. Nobody questioned it. It was on my TV, so it's true. And
that's Fox News. You think Fox News makes all that money just by lying to folks? Are you serious?
Oh, no, they wouldn't do that. They don't have advertising.
No.
There's no commercials on any of those channels. Forget Fox News, Fox, MSNBC, CNN, whatever. None of those channels have commercials, do they? That they have to go out and get sponsors. Are they beholden to sponsors?
I think that's how that works. Yeah.
So they wouldn't be. You don't think those sponsors in any way, shape, or form could be dictating the content of these channels, do you?
You mean kind of like lobbyists do with our American government? No. There's no way that could ever happen, man.
No, those are...
the FCC oversees all of that, so that's the... Oh, wait a minute, that's the government.
Exactly. The FCC, well, that's it. It's the...
going back to what New York did, though, this is kind of sum it up in a nutshell. It's kind of like Charlie Manson from his jail cell going on Sharon Tate's Wikipedia and doing a little bit of editing. Wouldn't people just be horrified and shocked if he was doing something like that? That's exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about Eric Garner's murderers went on his own Wikipedia page to distort the information, to distort the story how it really happened.
But, look, Charles Manson, he didn't technically, even though he's horribly, horribly, despicably evil and is just a complete nut job, he didn't actually even kill those people. He had some people do it for him.
Yeah. Okay, then if you say that, then maybe Charlie could actually probably morally be able to do such a thing and it'd be somewhat okay. No, he's absolutely nuts. Come on.
He's crazy, but I think your point's right. It's so very similar, saying that the people that killed this guy get to go on there and change the story.
I mean, how horrifying is that?
It's like OJ writing that book. I didn't kill him, but if I did, this is how it would have gone down.
Yeah.
It's like we just get to write history however we want. And, when you've got the killers writing the history, how do you think that history is going to be written? Who do you think is going to be painted in a positive light? The victors write history. Speaking of which, they should just kind of went the full nine and just painted Eric Garner out to be just like this horrible, brutal monster that was, selling loose cigarettes out on the street and was accosting people and made it just a lot more salacious than what it really was.
because it would probably be, if I was to read a story like that, it would be a lot more understandable than the story how it happened.
Let me tell you something. If that wasn't on tape, there's no telling what the story would have been. They would have said he pulled a gun.
Oh,
They would have
man,
done all kinds
absolutely.
of crazy stuff. He had a gun on him. He had a gun. We know. We saw it. Well, where'd it go? It disappeared.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. It's not here anymore. Somebody ran away with it.
That cop that saved all the people on the sidewalk from them cigarettes is the true hero.
I know. They saved people from lung cancer that day. Nobody looked at it from that perspective.
Yeah, and actually, we probably need to get on Wikipedia after the show and kind of help the NYPD out a little bit.
We should.
Show them how to really do a good, proper Wikipedia edit.
Yeah. And that guy should be rotting in a prison cell right now for having murdered a guy for selling a loose cigarette. But anyway, talking about history is written by the victors. I don't know if I've ever told you this story or not. Really interesting. My freshman year of college, we had a kid. He was the kicker on the football team, and he was from Germany. And he came over, and he was on scholarship to just to kick for the football team. I guess he played soccer over in Germany. Anyways, we're in class, and especially where the school was located here in Alabama, you get very, very, very pro-America. That kind of mentality of the kind of Chris Kyle mentality.
Yeah, Fox News.
Right, but this German kid, I'm still amazed by it, even myself. Like, I didn't get into an argument. I was just kind of watching everybody go back and forth. But, he was convinced, seriously convinced that Germany won World War II. That's what they had taught him growing up. And the thing that was so crazy about it is he, had all these statistics. And, he would give you all these numbers of all these people that died. And, this kid actually believed. That's what he was taught. I don't know why he thought that, how he thought that. I've met other people from Germany. They did not think that. I just always amazed me. But he said it's what it was taught in school. I don't know. I didn't go to school in Germany.
Well, I mean, a quick rebuttal of that would have been, if that were true, then we would all be having this conversation in German.
Well, that was kind of the...
Because I think that was Germany's goal, wasn't it?
That was kind of the response. That was... Hey, buddy, you're in our country. You're speaking English.
Yeah.
That was kind of the response. Really, both sides annoyed me, to be honest with you. I didn't care. I was just waiting for class to be over with.
Well, speaking of Germany, the German Vice Chancellor recently, Sigmar Gabriel, stated that U.S. threatened to halt all intelligence information that they might, America could use to help Germany defend against another nation attacking them, or a terrorist attack, or something along those lines, that we were going to pretty much shut all that intelligence down. We weren't going to help them out anymore. If our good buddy and true American patriot, Edward Snowden, was harbored under political asylum. That is creepy.
It really is, and I can't believe that's not getting talked about everywhere. Why would it get talked about everywhere? That's what I was talking about before you called in earlier. To me, that's the story of the day, and I don't get why more people aren't just infuriated over the fact that the United States is just whatever. Y'all can all get blown up. Just, we don't care. We're not going to tell you if you let this one guy just step 1 foot in your country. We don't care.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
Of course. And of course, a lot of people hear a story like that, and they kind of shrug their shoulders because Americans, Edward Snowden has already been cast by America as an enemy of the state and someone who's very dangerous and is threatening the welfare and lives of every American, which is absolutely 1,000% not true at all. Edward Snowden did on a much grander scale doing right now, and that's exposing all of this crap and laying it all out on the table. But here we have, a few facts and figures. He had everything. He knew it all.
Yeah.
And was thoroughly disgusted by it, as any person with any kind of moral conscience should, once they see the atrocities that in firsthand, in the hard, raw data. I mean, here it is, the smoking gun in my hand. I can't believe it. I got to get out of here because I've got to tell people about it. If I tell people about it here, my life's over.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we were talking about the other night, I think every American should be forced to watch Citizen 4. It's just fascinating. Greenwald getting to see all those documents for the first time. I mean, it's pretty jaw-dropping just to kind of see the impact of, the world was about to change from that day forward. Once that information went out, everything was going to change. Because all this conspiracy and all this crazy talk, they're spying on you, it stopped being tinfoil hat time. And it started being, this is real. This is really going on. And look, they were spying on Merkel in Germany. They were spying on her. That's crazy. And then they've got the audacity to turn around and say, if you help this guy, we don't know it. We don't know what's going to happen to you. It's kind of like a mafia kind of thing. It's like they kind of like,
oh yeah,
like we don't know what's going to happen to you. It's like, it's almost like an invisible kind of threat. Because honestly, do I care if the U.S. government is talking to German intelligence? No, I really don't. But what it is, it's the intention behind why they were doing that. They weren't doing it because they were just going to go live our lives and live in peace. No. We don't know what's going to happen to you. You may slip and fall in the shower. We won't be able to help you if that happens. It's really creepy.
Yeah, it is. And, at the bottom of this is that, the American government pretty much told the German government that, look, we could know that, okay, let's say some idiot with a nuclear weapon is going to head to your country right now. Yeah, we're not going to give you the heads up on that, man. Y'all just go ahead and hunker down and
I'm saying, but
duck and cover.
To me, I almost read it as not only are they saying that, they're saying something may happen. We don't know what. We've never invaded. We've never done anything covertly before. It was almost like just this veiled threat. That's how I kind of took it. It's like, we're not going to be there to help you, so if something happens, you're screwed. Not saying we'll do anything, because we wouldn't. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
Either way, it's
not like we'll actually fund this is kind of far-fetched, though, that we would actually, possibly even like, we wouldn't do it ourselves, maybe like fund somebody else to go in there and do something horrible to Germany. Do we do things? No, we don't do anything like that. We don't
fund people to do that, do we?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that happened.
Jeez, and then, we can go into the broken record of Saudi Arabia again, but I'm going to try to, I almost made it through a whole show without saying the word Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that's probably not ever going to happen. You know that, right?
I know. I tried. I made it.
That's like Howard Stern going through a whole show and not using the word boobies.
I can usually get through one not doing that one, but yeah, Saudi Arabia, I can't keep that one off the tip of my tongue. I still don't get why people don't get in that. Yeah, I'm going to not get into that tonight. So, tell us more about what you've been kind of diving into and everything.
Well, I'm running down the list here to see what we haven't covered yet. I really, I can't get past going back, and I hate to sound like a broken record here, but mandatory voting in the U.S. Mandatory. That means just like that whole insurance thing, if you ain't got it, you're going to get fined, and so on and so forth. Why should we be forced to vote, number one? Because I want to tell you what, okay, we're all forced to vote. Who's going to be our next president? Finally, after and so many people have prayed for this day, we'll finally get to have none of the above, finally be elected for president. That's going to be awesome.
Do you know how many people would be like writing in "screw you" and just all kinds of insults?
I will be one of them. Trust me. If this actually, and I know that this is Obama just running his mouth as usual, pontificating, of course. But at the same time, he runs his mouth, and quietly, a few months later, we get this strange thing that comes across his desk, and next thing you know, here we are pretty much lining up at the polls, like it or not.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it was an accident. I definitely don't think it was an accident.
Yeah.
That up. It was definitely like he was kind of putting his foot in the water to, see how warm it was, see what kind of reaction.
He regardless of how warm warm it is or not, because he's put his foot in the water in some icy waters quite a few times and just went ahead and dove right in anyways.
He has.
And so go ahead and make sure you've got your mandatory voting card, because that'll be the next requirement. You'll have to pay a fee, I'm sure.
But here's the thing: I heard a lot of people say, I think that's a great idea. I think mandatory voting is great. Let me explain something to everybody. If everybody's required to vote, or everything is like it is, and nobody really shows up unless they really believe in somebody, or whatever, nothing's going to change. Not on a federal level, maybe locally, but nothing on a federal level as far as who's winning the presidency every 4 years is going to change. The person that's had the most money is going into the election, has always won 44 times, 44 presidents, more than 44 elections, 44 presidents. The person with the most money always wins. Every time. So just because we have more people voting, do you think that's going to change anything? Do you think people are suddenly going to not vote for the guy with the most money, the guy getting shoved down their throat?
Well, and again, let's go ahead and let's expound on this a little bit. Let's say that we do have mandatory voting, and then now we finally have a lot of people, especially a lot of moderates, which is definitely the main political affiliation in this country. Not Republican, not Democrat. These are the people that are not voting. They're so thoroughly fed up and disgusted with the whole process, and that they even can't even drag themselves out of the house to go down there to pick between the lesser of two evils. Okay, so then suddenly we'll have other people and other small little parties will pop up to try to snag those people. The money might get spread around a little bit, but there's still going to be and then if that's the case, then you'll have some people putting more money into third party candidates and stuff like that. Now that actually may be an unintended by the current administration and our current president. That might be an unintended consequence that may accidentally topple the Republican and Democratic Party, right? Wrong. Because they will do any shady tactic they possibly can with these big, vast hoard of money that they have now to quell that and keep that from happening and keep that their two-party system. Well, and that right there is at the core of people's disgust of why they don't go to the polls to begin with.
Absolutely. And see, and as big of a problem as campaign finance is, there's so many other problems because the media in 2008 didn't really give anybody a choice. They said Barack Obama's going to be the president. Congratulations. And they really, in the Republican primaries in 2012, did the exact same thing with Romney. They had Newt Gingrich, Herman Cain, Ron Paul, of all the Republican candidates, polled better against Barack Obama than all the others. Ron Paul always polled ahead of every other Republican in the primary on the ticket. And yet, it was always said...
And did anybody watch, before the Republican primary, did anybody watch any of the early debates that were nationally televised? But I only watched it just to see, again, like a lot of folks did, just to kind of see what Ron Paul would say, unless you're a diehard Republican people. And that's probably not anybody listening to us right now. But it was amazing. His response in every single one of the debates was like, oh man, I think this guy may actually have a shot this time out. Nothing happened. Very shortly after that, when he was showing up very strongly in a lot of your straw polls, then suddenly we have all of this, well, he might have did this in a newsletter, or he might have said this to somebody, or we have a little bit of the backbiting and mudslinging, and it seemed a lot more amplified against Ron Paul on all of the networks, on all sides, because neither the Republicans nor the Democrats want Ron Paul in there for a myriad of reasons, and we know why. Because he's out to, and I'm not saying that he will be the main guy that'll do it, or he is the end all be all, but he's probably the brightest glimmer of hope that we've had as far as his political ideology. Him personally, as a guy, as a man, I don't care about that. And we get so wrapped up in, well, so-and-so is pro this, or so-and-so is anti this, or this, that, and the other, back and forth, all of this small little petty, little things that at the end of the day don't really matter. What really matters is we get a president and that actually is our leader and our president to actually put us in a situation to where we don't have to rely on the government every day. That we don't need the government to tell us how to tie our shoes and give us a federal regulation on how to brush our teeth and how much water runs through our faucet. And no. Makes you mandatory, a law. If you are a lawbreaker, it is illegal. This is going on your permanent record. You will face a fine if you don't pay the fine, or if we have any other reason, we'll put you in jail. Right. And God help you at that point. God help you if you go out and try to tell people not to vote. Then you're a dissenter.
Oh, you better believe it. That's what would happen. I mean, and see, I don't know the answer, because even talking about the debates for last time, I was not a big fan at all of Newt Gingrich. I didn't really care for a lot of what he said. But as
I don't care for Newt Gingrich, period.
Right. As far as the sport of debating, though, he would get up there and could out-debate everybody but Ron Paul. And even
absolutely. Well, he's a seasoned politician. I mean, he's been doing that for a long time.
Stuff goes. That means he's probably more of a scumbag than all of them combined.
Former Speaker of the House, that makes him among the chief of
scumbags around them. And even then, you would still hear Romney won. And it's just like, I saw Newt Gingrich made Romney look like an idiot. I saw Ron Paul make Romney look like an idiot. And yet, you're telling me that Romney won. And speaking of Newt Gingrich, on several occasions during a couple of the debates, Newt Gingrich actually sided with Ron Paul, was the only other person on the stage, because he just heard that thundering applause and all the people getting up and screaming and cheering for Ron Paul. Well, okay, and he shifted. Here's the guy that was Bill Clinton's big enemy. His mortal enemy, and branded him as a liar and this, that, and the other, and of course got caught in his own indiscretions and infidelity. Yeah, he kind of reminds you of Clinton a little bit, because he's very.
Oh man, at that moment when he was on stage and saw the thundering applause from Ron Paul, you kind of saw a twinkle in his eyes. Okay, here's my end right here.
Yeah,
I'll saddle up to this guy, and then I'll kind of veer off and still kind of keep my party faithful, what we've already trained our constituents what the Republicans are about. Just like the Democrats have done the same. They've trained their constituents. This is what we're about. And if you're not about this, then you're not a Democrat. So you need to be this in order to be a Democrat and keep with our ideas, because those people over there are evil. Well,
okay, here we go. We know out there listening that these parties that we're talking about, these politicians we're talking about, they're not the answer. Maybe ever so often you'll get somebody you really, really, think may be the answer, but that's 1 out of 535, and that's just, Congress. We're not talking about the executive branch or anything else. We know these politicians aren't the answer. So we have to say to ourselves, well, what can we do? What do we do that can be the answer? Because obviously voting for the lesser of two evils has gotten us nowhere. It's gotten in this position we're at today, because you get the Republicans now, look what Obama's done in this country. Well, the Democrats are saying the same thing for 8 years about Bush. And the thing that's so sad is they're both right. The Democrats are right about Bush. The Republicans are right about Obama. They're not good for the country neither. These parties, it's not working. These people that they're putting in office that are chosen, you're not electing them. They're handing them to you and say, this is your choice. Take it or leave it. Well, we don't care who's going in anyway. So,
Obama, Obama took this. He really took this in a direction he shouldn't have took it in, as far as talking about. Well, we have a lot of money in the elections, the political elections. There's so much money in there, and maybe this will kind of stop some of that, or it will render that money ineffective, or this, that, and the other. Well, hey, instead of making voting mandatory and making it illegal not to vote, how about making it illegal to accept a bribe, a straight up bribe from a lobbyist?
I think that's already illegal.
Let's see how quick that shuts that off. That all the time, and they've done it, and they put language in there where they can do it in legal fashion. Now, you can't slide a briefcase of cash out on the table anymore. Now you've got to slide it under the table. And it's used in this super PAC, and which super PACs are so convoluted and muddied. Anyways, we know that here in this just in this state, in the state of Alabama, the PAC system here is just, I mean, it is crooked as all get out. And yeah, let's go ahead and not even just illegal contributions. Now let's just go and stop all lobbying altogether. Any contributions from any corporation whatsoever, unless it is a private citizen that's going to go ahead and put their own money, and there needs to be a cap on the amount that each person can spend. And suddenly that billion just drops down to just a mere couple million for a presidential election. Oh, they ain't gonna have that. You can't mess with that cash cow.
But look at this, okay? Somebody like Goldman Sachs, for instance, they've already figured their way out around that. Because if you go look at OpenSecrets.org and you look at all the campaign finances, you can look at everybody that's donated and where it's come from and all this stuff. And you go and you click on Goldman Sachs, it's just one individual that works there after another, and those goes this huge long list of people just maxing out at $5,000. They're just maxing out. But it's like every employee they've got.
So that would make me think that probably the top brass has put together a system. So, we'll go ahead, instead of us saying that we donated X amount of millions of dollars, we'll just have all of our employees, we'll go ahead and give them $5,000 and quietly donate that $5,000 in their name to that party.
Right, and I assume Goldman Sachs is not, they don't care. They're going to run the world no matter what. But I assume they're not saying you have to donate to this person, but something's going on for just to be so many people over and over and over and over and over. So it looks like there's people that's already found the loophole.
So much evil, man. So much evil in that system.
It really is. And, as far as the system that we've got now, I just don't know what hope we have for it, because it's what we get is not what we're told we're getting. And that's what's even so bad about it. It's people think they have something and they don't even have that. Like, they think it's bad, but it's much worse. So I think the first step is for everybody to be honest and say, okay, this is what's really going on. This is really what's been happening. And until we even know the truth behind everything, we can't fix it. How are we expected to fix something we don't even really know the details to? And I think that's part of the biggest problem that's not only facing this country, I think it's facing countries all around the world, maybe every country in the world, is their governments are lying to them and they don't really know what's going on. But we're getting towards the end of the show. Any parting words for us, Mr. Madden?
Oh man, I just my heart goes out to everybody listening right now that is wringing their hands over all of this. We all have to band together. We're all going to have to come together. The quickest way to do that is just start by simply loving one another. That's it. Because everything that we talk about, there's none of these words to talk about. None whatsoever. None.
You nailed it, sir. Well, I tell you what, Mr. Madden, Shannon, sir, I will be seeing you next Tuesday, as all our listeners as well. Nick, of course, will be here on Monday. The lovely Levon will be here tomorrow night at the same time. Have a great week, everyone.
Peace out.
Anti-Media Radio.
Go and let it blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know, no, through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.